Welcome to the NHPPA show. We're very pleased to have you today. We've got a great show lined up, including a special guest that will be popping in about 15 minutes. Eric and Teresa, welcome to the show.
Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sean. And if I could just add just a little special prayer for Jason, who's under the weather today.
Yeah, that's so if everyone can pray for Jason, that'd be appreciated.
Mhm.
You know, we're watching this little stream starting thing with the NHPPA logo turning around. And I don't know if the rest of you are watching it, but you know, the center one, it goes from being in or sticking out, but also the three on the outside go from being blocks to there just being a center block and the other ones aren't block. It's meant to be an optical illusion. One of the founders of the NHPPA, Peter Helgeson, just loved that. And because he would say, you know, when we look at drug regulations, when we look at Health Canada, things are not as they appear at first. There's a different way of seeing it. And that's why we chose the logo. So just so you all know, there's a reason why that's the NHPPA logo. And it's because, you know, just thematically, we're wanting you to understand that if you look at something long enough, you'll start to see it differently. And we try to help you do that. So I just, for whatever reason, was thinking about that as I was mesmerized with, can't we run it a little longer? Surely the people won't mind.
I never knew that. Yeah.
It's a good logo.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is a good logo.
Happy New Year. According to the old calendar, it's Happy New Year in the, what is it, April 1st, I think?
Oh.
Not according to the Gregorian calendar, but it used to be 13 months, apparently. That's what I've heard. I don't know if it's true or not, but so it seems more fitting that it would be Happy New Year in spring, right?
Oh, well, happy New Year to you too as well, Eric.
That's the way I look at it. It's a new year in spring.
Yeah, good call.
So for those of you that are, you know, aren't familiar with the NHPPA, so, you know, which stands for Natural Health Product Protection Association, we're a nonprofit, and what we do is we try to protect your access to natural remedies. We also try to promote truthful health information. So we've kind of become the watchdog about what's happening for citizens. And we go out of our way to have campaigns and make it really, really easy for you to do things. We're going to kind of go into that in a little bit. But, you know, unless you guys have something you want to talk about first, I wanted to talk about Marilyn Gladue crossing the floor today.
Yeah, good call. What do you have to say about that, Mr. Buckley?
Well, I think it's important for us to pay attention to it. Now, I haven't done the count, and I appreciate before we came on when we were talking that that maybe the Liberals don't have a majority yet. I thought they did, and I know I spoke to an MP today who thought they did. But in any event, if the Liberals get a majority, that's going to affect what's called the committee structure. And just so people understand, so, you know, we elect these MPs, and I'm going to talk about that in a second. So we elect these MPs, and the party that has the most seats gets to form the government. Now, MPs from each party will get selected to sit on specialized committees. So let's say, you know, the government's going to pass a budget bill, so a spending bill. Well, it has to get through 3 readings in the House of Commons. And after the second reading, bills go to what's called committee. And that's just so that a team of MPs from that kind of reflects how Parliament is set up. So let's say you had a government with 3/4 of the seats. Well, 3/4 of the seats in a committee would then belong to them, and the other. They try to have these committees proportional to the representation in the House of Commons. And the idea is to have all party committees that are then examining bills, and these MPs have some expertise with them. And the committee that we're concerned about is the Standing Committee on Health. Now, because there is no government majority, unless, that's changed, like I thought it did today. So, the committee yesterday, and it might still be today or tomorrow, the Standing Committee of Health had 10 people and only 5 Liberals. So the Liberals don't have a majority.
Mhm.
So, with the Conservatives and the Bloc member, they're kind of tied. But if the Liberal government becomes a majority government, even just with one MP more, then they get to have the majority of seats in committee. And that could really affect what we're doing. So this is a bit of a big deal. And again, I don't want to take for granted that you guys know when I say about an MP crossing the floor, what I'm talking about. So we all know we get to go every now and again and vote for an MP. And I think we also know that the MP we vote for is supposed to be our local MP that, pays attention to what's happening in the riding and that. But it's really not that. I mean, we're never consulted. And the MPs, it's the parliamentary system we inherited from the United Kingdom. They vote along party lines. So each one of the parties even has a person that are called the party whip. It's almost like, you whip cattle to get them into the chute to do what you want.
Mhm.
Same with the MPs. You have a whip that, they don't literally whip the MPs. Maybe they used to.
So are they cows or sheep? I'm just wondering what.
So, yeah, well, I'm not going to
Go
answer
ahead.
that question. We'll leave it up to our viewers. But so you have this party whip that then is supposed to keep the MPs in the party voting along the lines that the party wants them to vote. Okay. So when we elect MPs, we know that our local MP is going to have to vote along party lines. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, I tend to vote for the party I want to form the government, right?
Yeah.
Like I appreciate that in some ridings, there's just going to be somebody who's a superstar that you just want to be an MP from your riding, regardless of party. Like I'm not saying that we don't also vote for the person, but I think the biggest factor for most of us is we vote for a party. So let's just kind of dissect then what's just happened, not just with Marilyn Gladue, who crossed the floor today,
Hmm.
but I think this is the 5th
Mhm.
Conservative MP since the election. And the election, we just had an election.
I think
sorry,
there was
Teresa?
one NDP.
That's
I'm-
right. Yeah.
I think there was one NDP, Sean.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Well, thank you for correcting me. I don't want to get that wrong. So we've had but 5 MPs in total.
Mhm.
So meaning 4 Conservatives that their constituents by and large will have voted for them because they wanted a conservative government. They wanted a conservative MP.
Mhm.
And for the NDP one, that riding voted to have an NDP representative representing them. So that was the will of the voters. How can it be that we've got all these people crossing the floor, which means literally, because the House of Commons, you have the government on one side and you have the opposition on the other. And that's why it's called crossing the floor. The MP literally physically crosses the floor to the other side of the House. And, this has been happening ever since we became a colony. But this something has changed this time. I don't recall there ever being this many. Like, there'd be the odd one, but it seems that the Carney government is going out of its way to try and woo MPs from the opposition parties to cross the floor so that they can get a majority. And that's improper, in my opinion. And in my opinion, that just totally undermines the voting wishes of those people in the constituencies of MPs that have crossed the floor. And I know that if my MP crossed the floor, whether I voted for that, party or not, or MP or not, I still would feel, well, wait a second, we only get to participate in this, roughly every 4 years. We really are voting for a party, and you're throwing our votes out. Like, what gives you the right to basically change the election in my riding? Because make no mistake, that's what they're doing. They are changing the election results, 1 MP at a time. They're up to 5 now. And this is clearly a deliberate campaign to try and get a majority government, despite the fact that we didn't elect as Canadians a majority government. We didn't. So I think we should be a little concerned. But I got involved in this conversation with you tonight simply because it's going to change what's happening with us in committee. So I'll end there. I'm going to bring Josh Prefontaine up. So Josh, let me pull you up, and let's maybe all get equal for a second. Josh, welcome to the NHPPA show.
Josh is frozen.
Josh is frozen. Okay, well then I'm going to remove Josh, and I'm going to ask Josh if he can try and log back in. And but just wait, I see him moving now.
Yeah.
Adam's
Can you
okay.
hear me
Josh,
here?
how are you doing? You were frozen there for a minute,
Hi.
or you've got a really good frozen robot routine.
You got a really
Totally-
good frozen
totally
robot
faked us
routine.
out.
Good. Can you guys hear me all right? I'm not sure how good the internet connection.
Yeah,
Is it
we
Yeah,
hear
we
you.
can. So,
Okay, perfect. Hi, I'm good.
so Josh, thanks for joining us. I'm just gonna
Yeah, of
actually,
course.
I'm going to remove Eric and Teresa for a sec just to have a quick little interview with you. So, Josh, we've invited you on as a special guest, and before I tell people or we go into what you did, I just want to show something. So if you guys want to, oh no, just wait, I'm going to go to a different website. Okay, so can you guys see this? Where I am now is I'm on the Standing Committee of Health website. And when you go to their website, they've got Bill C-224, which is something, that's quite of concern to us. And you see how they have the briefs tab here. I'm just going to click on this briefs. It says briefs, that there's one person that's filed a brief to the Standing Committee of Health on Bill C-224. And when we open up that brief, it's a brief by our guest, Josh Fontaine. So it's just what's fun here, Josh, is that here we are. We're preparing, this big campaign to get people to write briefs. And, I'm searching the Standing Committee of Health site, just making sure there's not any special requirements. And I noticed there's a brief there. And I really liked the brief. And it's a brief in support of 224. So can you share, first of all, who you are?
I'm a traditional Chinese medicine student in Calgary, Alberta. And so I've been studying TCM. I'm just almost done here. I finish up school in about 2 weeks. With everything, and so I'm opening my practice in Lethbridge here in the coming months, just south of Calgary, and so I've been following Bill C-224. Previously, I think it was called Bill 368. Just its journey through the committees and Parliament, and just been really doing my part to support its progression through Parliament. And so I'm just acting as a concerned traditional Chinese medicine future practitioner. I just want to protect my ability to practice this medicine that I've spent, 4 years studying. I put a lot of time and effort into everything I've studied, and I've seen I've always been a user of natural medicine, all forms of natural medicine, but I'm speaking up specifically for Chinese medicine because I believe that it's been, it needs to be protected, and all of this medicine, all of this natural medicine needs to be protected. And so I'm just I follow what you guys do at the NHPPA, and I support all of it. And so that was writing that brief was just, a small way for me to help.
Yeah, and I just want people to know. I mean, Josh did this on his own initiative. So he, it had no involvement with us. He just made the decision to do that. Now, Josh, you're in a lab coat.
Yes.
You're actually at a clinic right now.
Yes,
as
I'm
part
in,
of your
I'm in
training.
student clinic. Yeah, I'm in student
Right.
clinic right now.
And you've agreed to kind of like log in and speak with us today. I'm curious,
Yeah.
can you share with us what led you to basically train to practice traditional Chinese medicine? Because that is a huge commitment. I imagine you had to have a science degree first and then go to its
Yeah,
minimum 4 years, right?
Yep, I have a bachelor's degree, and then I came here for 4 years, and it's it's been a journey, but I've always I grew up using natural medicine as our only form of healthcare, and to me, it was never alternative medicine. Like my family always used it as a primary form of medicine, and Chinese medicine is just it's an extension of it's a very powerful framework of medicine when utilized correctly. It can do incredible things. It can help so many people, and it's just an incredibly powerful framework and system of medicine. And to see it threatened, I just I have to do my part. I have to submit briefs. I have to talk to different representatives in the government, and I just have to do my part to protect it. And when I graduate and I'm in practice, I'll sit on the board of my association just to make sure that things are that I can do my part for that in that aspect. And so it's just it was a commitment to get where I am right now. Luckily, I have a very supportive wife and who's supported me all through school, and great family who supported me. And so it's been a journey. So I just wanted to do my part to protect all the hard work that not only I've done, but my wife has done in supporting me.
Yeah, and I'll let people know. So, like in your brief, one of the things that you raise is that because of the regulatory changes that Health Canada is proposing, you mentioned the cost recovery aspect, which
Mm-hmm.
I know you're not alone in being concerned about. I know that the suppliers for the traditional Chinese practitioners and for the homeopathic doctors are extremely worried because both traditions need so many. Can you just maybe share a little bit about what's going on there and why people need to be concerned about whether or not people like you are going to be able to continue to practice in the area you've trained to help us with?
Well, the thing about Chinese medicine, Chinese herbal medicine, particularly, is that we draw upon a massive pharmacopoeia of different herbal medicinals, and so it's each one of those single herbs and formula herbs. They all require an NPN number, and as you know, with everything, each one of those bottles is going to be subject to these increased costs if we don't do something about it. And so it doesn't the math does not, it doesn't.
Okay. Josh, you just froze for a sec, so I'm just going to move you to the side until your internet unfreezes. And I know you're at the clinic, so somebody's competing. What Josh
So
was
it just,
explaining. Oh, so there you go. Sorry, you
oh
froze
yeah,
for a
sorry.
sec. So
Okay, yeah,
can you just back up just a bit?
yeah, for sure. The product or the cost recovery fees. There's 300 single herbs. There's countless formulas that we use in practice, and each one of those is subject to these increased costs.
Right. Okay. I'm just going to move
Rocket
myself.
scientists on these suppliers and for these manufacturers.
Right. And I just so the audience understands. So
Did you get all that, or did I?
yeah, no, we did. You broke up a
Sorry,
little.
my internet connection is not too good here at the school. I might
Yeah,
have to move it.
you're competing with whoever else is using it. But I'll just recap so
Yes.
that people understand. So part of what's going on is they're imposing this new regulatory framework, and they want to impose fees, so licensing fees for each product, including yearly renewal fees. And because the traditional Chinese practice of medicine involves so many potential herbs, depending on what your condition is and the treatment plan, there's too many. The cost would be
Yeah.
too high, and so the suppliers are worried they'll literally go out of business.
Yes.
And if that happened, we could lose. I mean, it's not a matter of a couple of doctors being gone after. It's a matter of they won't be able to access the treatments that they've been trained to use to help us, and that's pretty
Yes.
scary. And that's one of the reasons you wrote that brief.
Yes. I want to protect this industry and this
Now,
medicine.
Josh, I imagine you have to go in a minute, but I wanted to just ask you another thing, and that is when Teresa and I spoke with you on the phone earlier, and maybe I'll bring Teresa up here, is that and when we asked you, well, like, why did you do this? I mean, you were kind of explaining to us, like, almost like we were asking you a silly question, like, of course, like you have to be involved to
The
make a difference. So I'm just wondering if you can speak to the people watching, both tonight
I,
and when this is replayed, just the importance of taking personal responsibility.
I think if you don't do something, if you're waiting for somebody else to do something, it's already too late. If you want something to change, you have to be the one to do it. Nobody is coming to sort anything out for you. You have to be the one to write the letters or write the briefs or do anything. You can't sit idly by and say, well, somebody else will do it. It's like, no, that person is you. You have to do it. And so that's the perspective that I come at this situation with. If not me, then who else? So I apply that attitude to everything I do in life. I need to be the one to do it. I need to be the one to push what I want protected forward and protect it myself. Nobody else is going to do that for me.
Can I ask a question? What's the temperature with your other students there? Like what are they alive to this, or are they asleep?
They are, but there's a lot of apathy, unfortunately. And I think that that's not unique to this particular problem. I think that that's just a trend in Canadian politics in general and political issues in general, is just apathy. And I was not raised to be apathetic with things that affect my life. And so I guess you could say maybe I'm a bit unique in that regard, but I would hope that I'm not the exception.
What do you think would be a catalyst to push more complacent people over to recognize that they have to get off the couch?
I think I think we're just so overwhelmed with the next crisis.
Yeah.
And I think that is just the feeling of a lot of people within I'm 30 years old. And so people my age and younger, I think that the general consensus is that we're constantly inundated with the next thing to care about. And so I think I can't blame people for being that way, because you have to pick and choose the things you care about. And we're just constantly fed negativity in the news, the next crisis, the next thing you need to be concerned about. And so, unless you're like me, where it's a threat to my livelihood, it's hard for people to really get motivated to do something about. So I think for Chinese medicine practitioners in particular, I think people like me bringing awareness to it will help a lot. And I know the people who do care, who I have talked to about in my class and other practitioners I've talked about. I know they've done all of they've participated in the campaigns that you guys have set up. I have a few that are going to write briefs. And so it's like they just need a little bit of a kick, from someone like me, and they'll get up and do something.
You know what I have to say, I when I was trying to track you down, and I did some, of course, creeping and snooping, and so it's like I saw your Instagram page, and what really struck me was just even in what you posted, you showed balance. And balance. And I think there's something when we're inundated with the crisis and what do you do next, and blah blah blah, and they're coming at us like this, you were still able to see the joy with your wife and with your child, and to get out and experience the outdoors and get some fresh air. And I think that is, I mean, I know for myself, it's been critical over the past 5 years to be able to incorporate a little bit more of that in my life. And I think there's something there for you. I mean, and that's it. And your postings were inspirational. They really were.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's Instagram is it's not a lot of work, but it takes consistency. And so I'm happy that you liked it. That you enjoy what I post, I guess.
Well, and I noticed, it's like, but you blacked off your kid's face, so we can't.
Yeah.
So that's
he's cute, but I'm not gonna share him with Instagram.
Don't share him.
There's lots of things, there's lots of, there is always the next crisis, but life's good and there's lots to look forward to and there's lots to be excited about. And so I try and balance that perspective, at least in my own life. It's not all doom and gloom. There's lots and lots and lots of good things about the world and lots of good things to look forward to. Even when you're battling incompetence in the government.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's you're doing a great job. Sean, someone just posted a question about what's the deadline for briefs. Maybe you can answer that for all of Josh's friends that are going to be writing briefs and everyone else that's inspired by Josh. Josh can do a busy schedule.
Let's also give the challenge. So Teresa and I are meeting with an MP today, and the MP mentions that when the committee was looking at the MAID issue, medically induced assisted suicide, that there were like 900 briefs filed by citizens. So surely that sets the bar high for us people. So everyone needs to, so when a private member's bill gets into committee, I believe, if I recall correctly, the committee has 45 sitting days. So days that the House is sitting, the House of Commons is sitting. I haven't looked at the calendar, whether that clock's going to still be running when the summer recess hits. If it does, then we'll carry on to there, but it has 45 sitting days. So you probably easily have, a month to do it. But the trick is if you don't get your briefs in sooner than later, they may not be translated. So, there is a block member on there, and their caucus may also be interested in your brief for deciding what position they're taking on the bill. So, I think we all want to do it sooner than later. And it just so that minutes. I'm not that do you have to head?
No, it said it took me 30 minutes to write that brief.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
You can do it over when you're eating breakfast.
Yeah. And we, like Josh, you just went bang and did it. We, because we've learned that a lot of people sometimes, they want to do something, but they're a little intimidated by the task and they're not sure how to do it. So I'll walk through everyone a little later. We've put out, here's how you do it. So if you're a person, you can do it this way. We let you know who to submit it to. Here's the email address. But no, it's just, it doesn't have to be complicated. So
No.
like for a lot of you, it could be just telling your stories, your own health journeys, and why you rely on the products and why you don't want them overregulated.
Yep.
So you could share family members' journeys if you don't have a personal one. There's a whole bunch of other themes you could just talk about. So yeah, we've made it really easy. Josh, I imagine we need to let you go, but
Oh yeah, one more thing I wanted to let you guys know. I wrote. What am I trying to say? I am I'm trying to become a speaker for the standing committee. Like I wrote them an email saying that I'm gonna pop in there and speak. So yeah,
well,
hopefully they'll accept me.
Oh, and they should, because I mean, there's like traditional Chinese medicine. It's so important, and people need to understand that this exists for them to get healthy.
Well, I hope that by me doing that, a person or a student who's graduating in 2 weeks, if I'm up there speaking with them or on Zoom speaking with them, that the leaders of this profession, the people who are in charge of making our regulations and rules, they'll step up and make their voices heard, because I shouldn't, like, in reality, they should be the ones talking to the standing committee, not a student, but here I am.
Well,
Josh, you've said something important, and you've talked earlier about apathy. Do you mind if I keep you a little longer? Like, I know you.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I can, as long as my internet connection's good. I don't have a patient until 6:30.
Sean,
So
let's bring Rick on.
Oh yeah. Okay. Sorry, Rick. Let me add you to the stage there. So what a lot of people are missing, like we've got contact with manufacturers and stores and suppliers and the like, and Teresa and I were on a call with a manufacturer. It was yesterday, and so the manufacturer had said, had you seen these new guidelines that just came out for labeling, because Health Canada has been on this long labeling initiative as part of the self-care framework. The document is 95 pages long. And then this manufacturer is sharing, well, on this ingredient, this just happened, and this ingredient, this just happened. And, now they're requiring for stability testing. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not really worried that the manufacturer for my turmeric capsules, hasn't spent $25,000 to figure out, well, when really, are they only half as good type thing, right? Like, but they're required now. So he was saying, okay, so like on an almost per product basis, they're having to pay $2,000 to a consultant, for that consultant to just tell them, well, for that product, here's the tests you should run, and here's how often you should run them. And, it's basically going to tack on another $25,000 per batch for each product. And that's going to make, like, one thing that's happened is the marginal products have disappeared. So before we had all of these onerous regulations, and for some time after, some manufacturers made products that they lost money on. And they lost money on them because they just didn't sell enough, but there was a small number of people that relied on them. And so they'd continue to make them. Well, those products have gone because, it's one thing to lose a little bit of money, but when it becomes so that, well, you've got 15 products that are losing money, that but for the regulations you would continue to make, but if you continue to do it, you're out of business, then you stop making them. And Josh, the superiors, the people that run the TCM colleges, and that basically are out there practicing it, and there's a number of TCM organizations. I think TCM as a group, they have more organizations than any other natural healing tradition. But I don't think they understand how the industry, it's like a death from 1,000 cuts. Like, it's not just the big moves. It's so unreasonable behind the scenes. It's becoming so difficult behind the scenes that even without these major moves, I see they're just, it's more slowly they're over-regulating us, but the goal has always been to drive us over that cliff.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think you'll lose a lot of talented people by doing that. You know, they'll just go somewhere else. You know, at the end, like my wife and I were talking about moving to the U.S. and we don't want to do that, but it is something that I'm probably not unique in thinking, and along with everybody else who's in this industry or in natural healthcare, it's you're constantly pushing back against regulation. Eventually, people get tired of it. They want to live where they're not constantly being infringed upon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so, so everyone needs to get involved because we have to get this back.
Yeah.
Like we totally have to undo this. For those of you who aren't aware, I mean, here we're talking about over-regulating natural health products. So they're literally classed as drugs. So, you have to get a license, you have to prove they're safe, you have to prove they're effective, which sounds really wonderful. But it drives up the cost and it gets ridiculous. And then, sounds really wonderful. Well, hang on, let's back up the bus a little bit here. A lot of our natural health products, are just essential nutrients that we need because we can't get them from our food supply anymore because our food supply is now devoid of the nutrients we need. So, something essential nutrients like thiamine or vitamin C, shouldn't that be pushed on us? Like, shouldn't that be pushed on us that you need to be taking your B1s, you need to be taking your vitamin Cs, you need to be taking this, you need to be taking that. But instead, we have to fight and pay a lot of money and jump through just ridiculous hoops just to be entitled, because it's illegal without Health Canada permission. It's illegal for anyone to sell you nutrition that you actually need to survive. I mean, there's a list of essential nutrients, and if you're missing any one of them, you will eventually die. So how can it be we're in a regulatory structure where we actually have to fight to be able to sell you nutrients that are essential for your survival? There's something wrong. There's something wrong.
Josh, in your school, what type of education courses are mandatory regarding nutrition? I'm curious.
We focus on Chinese dietary therapy. So essentially the energetic and the I guess the best way to put it would be the energetic properties of food, how they create things like, I guess, to not be too Chinese, like medical terminology, dampness in the body. Just learning how to eat in a way that promotes good health and vitality, essentially, is what Chinese medicine dietary therapy focuses on. That's how we communicate with our patients how they should eat. So it's very we focus a lot on diet. We focus a lot on daily exercise. We're constantly educating our patients on what kinds of foods they should be eating according to Chinese medicine theory, and what kinds of exercise they should be doing, like qigong, meditation, breath work. And so we get quite an extensive education on those concepts.
Yeah, what was it, Sean? Medical doctors have like 2 hours on nutrition. What?
Well,
yeah,
when we were,
what's that? Sorry, Josh.
Oh, we spend a lot more than 2 hours
Yeah.
on nutrition. It's a very what we always say is, with the herbs, the acupuncture, all of the other modalities that we use, like, we're constantly educating the patients that if you're not doing these dietary changes at home, if you're not following the exercises that we're giving you, that we're essentially throwing, like, we can get them to a certain point, but it's up to them to take whatever is going on with them to fully, it's up to them to work on it at home as well, so that they're actually making those long-term changes. Because I can prescribe a patient herbs for a certain condition, and it will get them better, but it's up to them to not constantly be fueling the fires of their illness by just not following any of the lifestyle or dietary recommendations that I'm giving them, which are absolutely key. And so diet, lifestyle is key. We're constantly emphasizing that. We're trying to get the person completely healthy and better, to where they don't have to come see us anymore. Like, my goal is to get a patient as healthy as I possibly can through everything that I'm recommending them, so that they don't have to come to me. You know, they don't have to see me for years and years and years. They can see me for, 4 or 6 months, and then I can send them on their way. And that's how I believe that, healthcare should be.
Yeah. Josh, if you don't mind, could you give me your Instagram account just so I can follow you?
Sure. It's Josh Prefontaine _TCM.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Will
Yeah,
you come back and continue to educate us, please? Can you come back?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And can you be our TCM young doctor with the white trench
Sure.
coat? And
Well, in all fairness, like
Yeah.
Josh isn't staging here. He's at a clinic
yeah,
taking
Yeah.
and he just doesn't have a patient right now, but he, so he's wearing a coat because he's at work. So
Yes,
it's just
I'm at
reason.
work currently.
Yeah. So
Oh.
he's
NHPPA doctor on call, Josh. There you go.
Yes, I can come at all of the health questions from a Chinese medicine perspective. I'd love to be that person for you guys.
That's perfect.
Very interesting.
Can we segue into? I just want to show the NHPPA site on the campaign we have now for writing briefs, and then after that maybe we'll go into the feed. But I'm just going to do a share screen and just change my.
Sean's at the captain's desk, so there you go.
Yeah. Well, because Jason is not well, so I'm at the captain's desk. So this you should be looking at the NHPPA landing page.
Yeah.
And we have a carousel at the front, and it's going to rotate. In fact, maybe I'll go back to this guy. So educate the committee. So here we are. Expert briefs needed for Parliament. Now, if this isn't up when you go to the landing page, I'm just going to scroll down, and you see NHPPA current campaigns. And this is another way to get there. So we've got a campaign over here on the right, the green box. This is to put pressure on the members of the committee to understand that this is really important. So I will go there briefly. And what happens is when you go to this page, you're able to do several things. And we make this very easy for you. I'm just scrolling down. So one is to send an electronic letter. So we're just asking your name, email address, and postal code, and the letter's there, and off it goes. So you could do this, in about 2 minutes. And then physical letters. And here's the deal. When you get a card or a physical letter in the mail that isn't a bill, it isn't your credit card statement, but it's actually from a person, you read it and it's meaningful. And it's funny. Teresa sent some postcards out and sent, one to a podcaster that we're on now and again. And the fellow said, I don't get Christmas cards. And so it was very meaningful. Same things with MPs. We've become an electronic society. So a single physical letter that they can hold in their hands is probably worth, 100 emails or even more. So, our campaign, we've got physical letters, and then we put together posts that you can just grab these and post yourself on your social media, because you have your own you've got your own network. So I'm going to go back to the homepage. So that's this green part. But I want to talk about briefs because this is what Josh has done. But he did it on his own just because he took the initiative, he took the responsibility. We have on this page, we're telling you, hey, we want you to write a brief. And I'm sorry, this is a little choppy and scrolling down. These are the rules that Parliament publishes. They're very, very simple. We tell you how to submit it. You basically send it to the clerk at that email address. We also ask you to confirm that they accepted it, because what happened with when this bill was in committee last time, 368, we submitted our brief and it didn't show up in the briefs like Josh's has. And when we contacted them, say, oh, well, we didn't know that you wanted it considered by the committee. So I guess people go out of their way to write detailed briefs, commenting on a bill before the committee, just for fun, but they don't want the committee to read it. So here we're just educating you a bit. Now, do you see, this is important. Learn more about Bill C-224. The reality is that, when our guys like Eric put this page together, if they put in all the information that we have, it just becomes unmanageable. So this takes you to a little PDF, this Learn More, that has a little more information about the bill, why it's important, and then what to include in your brief. You see, if you're an individual, we give you stuff, practitioner, manufacturer. But I just want to show you again, if you just go down, I'm just looking for, so we've got this another PDF document, which tells you what to put in your brief. And it's just a little more detailed than the website. And again, the issue just simply is with the website, for it to be a reasonable web page for you, we can only put so much information. So the point with that being is we want you to know we're asking you to write a brief to the Standing Committee of Health, and I'll explain to you why, but I'm just making the point we've made it easy for you. So we've kind of let you know different things that you could put in and what to do and what the guidelines are. But the government, the Liberal government, listens to Health Canada. And in fact, most MPs listen to Health Canada. And I mean, Teresa can talk about how she is shocked when we talk to MPs that most of them don't understand what you watching this understand. That, no, wait a second, natural health products work. We actually need the vital nutrients. We need our natural remedies, and we need our natural health practitioners, and we shouldn't be having to fight for this. And even the fact that they're super beneficial, like that they're life and death for so many people, or people would be really suffering terribly if they couldn't access them because the chemical drugs had absolutely failed them. The MPs, we find, when you can actually get the time to sit down and talk to them and or their gatekeepers, they don't understand this. So we've got this huge information gap. And then there's just kind of bureaucratic inertia. We can't know why Health Canada takes the position they do, but we can say with 100% certainty. I can say with 100% certainty because, I started this journey in 1994 acting as their counsel. I've been watching them for 32 years, and every single step of theirs, because you never worry about what anyone says. So don't worry about what Health Canada says. You just look at what they do. And 100% of what they do is geared towards reducing our access and making it more difficult for the natural health community to provide you the things, more expensive, less effective. Let's reduce this ingredient. Let's reduce that ingredient. So we have this trajectory. We know that they want to truncate the industry as much as they can. We know that the MPs don't really understand why this is important to you. And so we need you to get engaged. Now, when this bill was in committee last Parliament, so almost the same bill was in the last Parliament, but when an election's called, then all the bills that didn't finish, they're finished and it has to start again. But when it was in the committee last time, what happened is there were only a few briefs in support of it. And in fact, I was surprised. All of a sudden, there's some groups saying that they represent the citizen or the consumer that I'd never heard of before, against the bill. And I just assumed that they're basically funded by the pharmaceutical industry, and they're just front groups to oppose things that might hurt the pharmaceutical industry. So we thought, why don't we let the committee understand that this is important? Because I promise you, they don't understand.
Yeah.
And if we can get 1,000 briefs filed, if we could beat that, those MAID hearings, which admittedly ran a long time. But I mean, if we could really let the committee know, like so many of you will have really compelling stories. And even if they're on minor things, like I remember, Teresa, you're going to ask me the person's name.
Yeah.
Who?
What's the name? Yeah, waiting. You got the name?
Julie Nelson.
Thank you.
So when we were doing the world's greatest health show, no, it's just I kept referring to this young mom with restless leg, and I'd forgotten her name, and so I had to go and look it up. Okay, so Julie Nelson, one of the speakers at the health show, and you can go watch her video. Young mom, couple of kids at home, and she's got this medical doctor just diagnosed it as what's called restless leg syndrome. And what she described to us is literally she'd go and lay down and it'd be like electric shocks going into her legs and then her muscles twitching, really uncomfortable. And so she said, well, I'd have to get up and walk. So she's like walking all night long. Well, now she's getting fatigued. She actually got to the point where she was no longer able to care for her kids. Her husband had to step in. Her medical doctor's saying, well, there is no treatment. And don't say anything, Josh. I know what you're thinking. I don't even have to ask. So the medical doctor's saying, we don't have a treatment for restless leg. So why don't I prescribe you this Parkinson's drug that we use to treat, a very serious neurological condition of Parkinson's disease? Although I'll back up. I mean, I'm going to be interviewing Elliot Overton, hopefully next week, who's a leading expert in thiamine B1. And I mean, they're having fantastic success with Parkinson's. And I know that some other treatments are fantastic success. Like, so when the medical system tells you, oh, it's a dead end and you're going to get worse and die. And, but don't worry, we'll help put you to death beforehand with MAID. No, don't lose hope, please. But back to our mom with restless leg. She's like, her leg's falling apart. The doctor's saying, I'll put you on this Parkinson's drug, which she, does her research, and it's like, there's many things I don't want to do in my life, and this is one of them, go on this drug. So then she ends up going to, I believe it was a naturopathic doctor who just put her on magnesium, right? And I know you're going to say that, Josh, because it's so well known that if you're having, things like muscle twitches, it could be something else, but it's most likely magnesium. And you cannot go to a local health food store, like, the big chains, they may not have trained staff there, and they may, but the local ones, they're all trained. It's impossible to go to a local health food store, describe restless leg, and not get magnesium. And it's probably impossible to go see you, Josh.
Well, we would, it's just a different framework, but the result would be the same. We would, I can't tell you how many people come and see Chinese medicine practitioners as a last ditch effort. And it's usually the thing, we're usually the ones who end up actually helping them. The acupuncture, but especially herbal medicine, can bring people back from absolute disaster if applied correctly by a trained practitioner.
Right.
It is incredibly effective medicine when utilized correctly by somebody with experience. And it's it's incredible to see the results. And yeah, I mean, just even in my time in school, like I've treated people who have had conditions that have been their whole life. And, you know, you treat them for several months and they're gone. They're, we're not allowed to say that we, that we cured them, but, you know, you essentially give them a very large portion of their life back.
Why are you not allowed to say? Sorry, my finger was up first.
Well,
why are
we're
you
not.
not?
Well, I mean, it's with our advertising too, right? We're not allowed to say that we can heal or cure a disease. That's very, very explicitly taught to us.
So
Okay.
who says that? Who says that?
Our regulatory body.
Okay.
And then I'm
Okay.
assuming the, you know, the pharmaceutical companies have that claim. That's probably from them. You know, they're the ones who can say they can cure or heal something. We can't do that.
Okay.
Actually, Josh, it's a little funnier than that. So, although there are some minor regulations that would prohibit people from saying things, and then there's labeling things that you know requires you to state some things. But there's actually nowhere is it written that you can't share truthful health information about a product. But Health Canada takes the position that, you know, all drugs are illegal unless they approve them, which is true because we have a regulation saying you can't sell a drug unless you have a license. So that means they're all illegal. And Health Canada takes the position, well, when we grant you a license, you have a label claim. And you cannot say anything beyond the label claim. Although that's not written down anywhere, that doesn't help you if they're attacking you and hammering you. So in my 32 years of legal practice, it's highly likely that I have ran interference between Health Canada and natural health companies and natural health practitioners more than any other Canadian lawyer. And I can say almost 100% of the time, like there's been the odd case where a product was spiked or whatever. And then okay, we actually have a point here. But like almost 100%, like maybe that would be 2 cases in 32 years. Almost 100% of the time, the mischief that caused Health Canada to attack and or destroy, because a lot of times the companies did not survive the attacks. The mischief was not that they were saving lives. The mischief was not that they were taking people who were disabled and making them well. The mischief was they were talking about it.
Yeah.
Like that's what it's not illegal to save lives yet. It's not illegal to find people that are disabled and cure them so that they're healthy. That's not illegal yet. It's illegal to say you can. And this is the rub, is so, you know, there's some treatments out there. Like we used Parkinson's as an example. Another one that came up was during the health show. Josh, we had a lot of people that like suffered with Crohn's for like 30 years and on this drug and that drug and all of this. And then they go to a natural health practitioner, including TCMs, and they get well. And how many people out there in Canada are suffering terribly with Crohn's disease, just to pick that as an example. And they're suffering because they can't be told. You can't advertise as a TCM, hey, we've got this protocol for Crohn's, try it out. Because you can't get it approved for Crohn's because we've rigged our approval process so for serious health conditions in my lifetime and the lifetime of anyone on this call, the only drugs that have been approved for serious health conditions, with the exception of Primarin, had a patent when they went through the process. Yep. So that's pretty crazy.
Yep. And that's why the, yeah, I know it's really sad. I don't know what else to say to all that other than it's a big problem, you know, but, the main thing is, I just want people to know that there are these amazing practitioners who they can go see for something like Crohn's, and that they can get well, and that I've, even in 4 years of school, I can't tell you how many times I've heard from people who have been dismissed by their physician, by their primary care physician, or they've been told that there's no cure for what they have, or there's no treatment, and I guess it's just not true. Like, it's just plain not true. There's many options for people. Many.
I think what you didn't say there, because I was ventriloquisting to Any Health Canada inspector watching this. That was me, not Josh. But I think what the point is there are so many people out there, and if you're one of them, or if somebody close to you, and you're suffering terribly, and you're being told by the medical system there aren't solutions. That's the thing.
Yeah.
There are solutions. Keep looking. It's one of the reasons why we did the health show, and we're going to continue to take people's stories. We're going to continue to interview people like Josh. But no, you can never lose hope, because you're not supposed to be sick, and you don't have to be sick.
Yeah.
Do you think I overstated that, Josh, or do you think that's pretty?
No, that's perfect. Of course, you have to be realistic, but at the same time, you should not give up hope. You should be confident that there are other options out there for you, and that like, allopathic medicine is not the end all be all when it comes to healthcare. Like, it's just, for a lot of people, it's just the beginning of their health journey. They go through the steps of going to their primary care physician, and then they go to they see a specialist, and then they see a few other specialists after that, and then when they don't come up with an answer, then they come see someone like myself or a naturopath. And so it's, allopathic medicine is definitely not the end all be all. It's, for a lot of people, it's just the beginning. And there are many other systems of health care out there. Like, for instance, TCM and Western medicine are fully integrated into each other in China, where obviously this medicine originates from. So if somebody goes to a Western doctor in China, and the Western doctor does not have an answer for them, they send them to the traditional Chinese medicine department of that hospital. And a lot of the times they're in the same building, and they're just on different floors. And so that person will receive care regardless of if it's from the Western physician or if it's from a TCM physician. But they will leave that hospital with some kind of answer and some kind of treatment plan, whether it's from TCM or Western medicine. And they don't fight each other, they work together, which there are, I would like to work together with, as much as I disagree with a lot of, with certain aspects of the allopathic medical system, I would rather work with it as a practicing Chinese medicine doctor rather than try and dissuade people. I want to be more collaborative. Maybe that's naive of me in my beginning of my career, but that's where I'm at right now.
I've got another question, but I just, I think you always have to try and be, if your personality is collaborative, just go that way anyway. And
well, my
and
personality is definitely not collaborative.
Yeah,
it's
not okay. But I mean, I think that we're going to see a switch. We're going to see a switch with medical doctors, because I think what's going to happen, because of the COVID experience, and because the medical system's becoming overwhelmed, so people are having to go to the natural health community. They're having to go to different healing traditions because they can't get attention from the medical system. And I think that's going to change our whole paradigm. Like I actually think that we're at an exciting time. But I wanted to ask one thing that came up. Sorry, just wait. I wanted the rest of us on here too, but I wanted you in the center, and that didn't work. One thing that came up during the health show was that, you know, oh, you go to a medical doctor and you get a chemical drug, and everyone's got this expectation that it's going to work in a day or 2 days and the like. But with some of our healing traditions, especially, you know, let's say you've got toxic overload or malnutrition, or there's something else going on, you know, you didn't get into that condition overnight. And you have to be a little more patient, don't you?
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that was the question. It's just sometimes you have to be a little more patient too.
I'll harp on Chinese herbal medicine because that's my focus. That's going to be my practice's focus is herbal medicine. Depending on the condition, the medicine, the medicinals that we're utilizing in the modern day and age, they're pharmaceutical grade herbal medicines. They're made to be hyper concentrated, whereas traditionally they were always raw herbs. So the therapeutic effect of these concentrates that we're using now as practicing Chinese medicine doctors, they, when dosed appropriately, again, I'll harp on by a trained practitioner who knows what they're doing, the therapeutic effect of them is extremely high. And with a lot of my patients, I see good therapeutic effects in a week. You know, a week of treatment. Within a month, again, for specific conditions, a lot of the time we're seeing, you know, upwards of 50% improvement in a month in their condition. This is not the case for all conditions, obviously, but for, you know, a healthy majority of them, you can see real change, real lasting change within a month of treatment. And then you stretch that out to, you know, 4 months, 6 months. And, you know, that's when you really start to get into that long lasting change where this person is, you know, they're doing well now. I don't have to see you as a patient anymore. I can be confident that when I send you on your way, that as long as you are making the proper changes at home with diet and lifestyle, that you won't have to come see me again. And so that's with the herbal medicine is extremely effective. And it's because in China, they're constantly refining and making it better and making these pharmaceutical grade concentrates. And maybe I'm misusing that term. I know we want to get out of the pharmaceutical regulations that they're trying to impose on us. I use that term more as a explanation for the process in which they are created. They're, I guess, laboratory. They're created in they're synthesized and created in a laboratory setting to get a very highly therapeutic herb. And so, yes, it does take time, but not as long as you would think. I guess
Can I just share a fun kind of manufacturing fact that just came to mind? Because you're talking about how, you know, in China they're basically refining the active ingredients. So when you have a remedy now, you know how much of certain active ingredients are in there, and that enables you to adjust the dose for your patient because you know how much the patient is getting, and then you can adjust that with certainty, on what the dose is until you arrive at, what's optimal for the patient. Well, you're able to do that because, now there's labs that test the markers for the active ingredients. So here's the fun kind of manufacturing fact. It's like, okay, before we had labs, testing, well, because different batches of herbs are stronger or weaker.
Mhm.
So before we had labs to tell us which herbs were stronger and weaker, how did we test? And I'll tell you, I'm not, unless anyone wants to volunteer that, I'll just use a manufacturer that I know. So Strauss Herb Company, their flagship product are the heart drops. And they were making them well before the NHP regs came in. And when the NHP regs came in, they had to do it. They had to have these standard operating procedures where it's tested and they're adjusting it based on what the lab results are. And I'm there one day, visiting, and they're complaining to me. They're complaining to me about, how they don't like having to do it that way. And actually they think the product is slightly not as good as, the traditional way. And the traditional way was by taste. They taste the herbs.
Mhm.
That's so pre-lab, your master herbalists, your traditional healers their training would include tasting the herbs so that they would understand the potency. We don't do that anymore. If ever, our power grid goes out and we have to go back to traditional ways, we'll relearn that. But I thought that was fascinating. Of course, you taste the herbs, just like a chef tastes the ingredients and adjusts them based on taste when they're cooking. Same thing, a master herbalist will adjust, the recipe for the herbal remedy based on taste.
That's how Chinese medicine got such a large pharmacopoeia of herbs was doctors, hundreds and thousands of years ago, testing the herbs, tasting them. That's how all of this developed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that the traditional Chinese medicine tradition is our oldest. I might compete with Ayurvedic, but I know some of those traditions literally do go 2,000-3,000 years back.
Yes. Yeah. It's before I go here. Yeah. It's an incredibly effective form of medicine, incredibly effective system of medicine. And I hope that by speaking with you guys that I'm able to communicate that to whoever's watching and be, if I come on here again, be a good representative for this profession and not, protect it in the best way I can.
Well, Josh, that sounds like a perfect segue to let you go. I know you've got
I
patients.
got a patient here. I got to go and
Okay.
treat them.
Well, yeah, we won't ask you to put the patient on. So, but thank you so much for, or maybe we will. Yeah, let's totally break the Privacy
Yeah, let's
Act.
bring him on. Let's bring
Get
him
you
on.
into tons of trouble. But we really appreciate you sharing with us. We really appreciate you setting that example.
Yeah.
I wanted to show the HESA site that there's one brief filed and it's your brief.
Yeah.
And I think, congratulations to you for showing us that we need to be involved. So thank you very much for coming and attending and visiting with us today.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me on. It's been a pleasure. I hope that I made a reel and posted it to my Instagram for you guys. I'm not sure if you saw it, but it's on there and I can send it to you if you want to post it on yours.
Sure.
Oh, super.
Sure.
But thank you guys so much for having me on. I hope that we chat again soon.
Oh, yeah. Welcome to the NHPPA. Come on back.
Oh,
yeah.
thank you.
Right.
I appreciate that.
You're there.
Happy to be here.
Congratulations. You got the job. Pays nothing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks again, Josh.
Yeah.
Thank
Take
you.
care, guys.
Bye-bye.
So, guys, I think we should probably go to the feed. What do you guys think?
Yeah, that was really interesting. I didn't know too much
Wasn't it?
about Chinese medicine, but that's fascinating. I'm going to look into that a bit more. Wow.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Well, you know what I liked about Josh is, so it's not just that, he took action and wrote this brief, but, tell me if you didn't feel this too. He is enthusiastic about healing people.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
He's enthusiastic, and that, that's the type of healer I want, is somebody that is enthusiastic about wanting to help us.
I also like the fact that he says, after 4 months, I don't want you to come see me anymore because you're going to be better, right? So whereas our current system, it's like you got to go see the doctor often if you want to keep up your health, right? So when you do
But
it,
you only have to be on the chemical drugs for life. I
well,
mean,
that's it. But
so
very fascinating.
Auntie Mary always said, have a doctor that's younger than you.
Mm.
That was Auntie Mary's advice. So everyone needs to take Auntie Mary's advice. So maybe Josh is my doctor now.
well, maybe, yeah, maybe he is, eh? Okay, well, let's go to the feed.
We'll go to the
And
feed, and
let's
are
go
you gonna put up the banners and
Oh,
stuff, or
I
should I
just no,
take
no,
care?
I'm ready to go. Here we
You
go.
ready to go? Great. Well, that's
Okay.
groovy music. I like that music. Yeah, so it looks like spring has almost arrived here in Quebec, where I am. How is it out there in Alberta? Is it nice?
Well, they have a saying in Alberta that July showers bring August flowers.
Okay. Here it's supposed to be April brings May flowers, but we haven't had any flowers yet. But I'm looking forward to it. It was sunny today, at least. So there's hope for some warmer weather coming. And Happy New Year, like I said before. So I thought it'd be cool if instead of talking about doom and gloom and how our government is not listening to us, or at least not taking into account the wishes of a large swath of the population, that we talk about some positive things, successes that the NHPPA has had over the past year. For example, last fall we had the Health Charter Tour, the world's greatest health show, and the amazing fact that we have the third largest petition in Canadian history. And on top of that, the Charter of Health Freedom has been submitted to the clerk of petitions, and now, with the support of many parliamentarians, actually stands a chance of being put into law. Keeping our fingers crossed. The Bill C-224 campaign, which thanks to so many of you has been passed on to the Health Committee with unanimous support from all parties. Wow. I'm actually kind of apolitical. I don't have much confidence in any politician or political party, and even less with today's news, perhaps. But let's give some credit where credit's due. Some of our political leaders have actually been commenting, reposting, and posting about the NHPP campaigns, which is pretty cool. For example, I've got some, I don't know if you can see those, Sean, but we have some things to put up at the bottom of the screen in
Okay.
banners. I'm not sure.
Can you get that up there, Captain?
Okay, I'm just looking. So they're not, it's not a share screen, it's a media asset.
It's in banners. I'll just show the first
Oh,
one.
just hang on a second. Banners.
There we go. I'm showing
Okay.
the first one,
I'm
and
in the
there's a
wrong
whole
screen.
list.
So you
of-
want the feed 13 banners?
Yeah, banners. And there, I've put the first one up. I don't know if you see it, but yeah, I think
I do.
So one of the MPs, Dan Mazier, MP for Riding Mountain, he posted a breaking update on Bill C-224 passing the second reading. He says, this means legislation to keep natural health products on shelves is one step closer to becoming law. So this pretty much echoes the NHPPA's calls to action. The next one is Dr. Leslyn Lewis. Did you show that? There we go. Dr. Leslyn Lewis, MP for Haldimand, Norfolk. She shared a video statement celebrating the bill's cross-party passage. Protecting access to these products means protecting our freedoms, our autonomy, and affordability for Canadians. The next one, Brandon Leslie, MP for Portage Lisgar, quoted Blaine Culkin's original post, and she added, I'm not sure, Brandon. Good news, Bill C-224 passed second reading. We're one step closer to restoring Canadians' choice and access to affordable natural health products. And we have Connie Cody, MP for Cambridge, posted about seconding Bill C-224. There was strong support across our community, with many residents signing and sharing a petition calling for the protection of natural health products. So that's a direct reference to the Health Charter petition campaign.
Hmm.
And of course, top of the list is MP Blaine Calkins, who's been such a huge supporter of NHPPA initiatives in the past, and especially this year with his private member's bill for C224 and submission of the Charter of Health Freedom to the Clerk of Petitions. So thanks to all of you. That's pretty cool, pretty amazing. Some of our top supporters who are reposting NHPP initiatives over the past while have been Children's Health Defense, reposting and sharing multiple NHPPA posts and interviews with Sean on totalitarian trends, the Health Charter Tour, media government ties, and they've got some pretty good zingers in their posts. In one interview, Sean was saying that CBC and many outlets receive government support, and when that happens, they speak with one voice for the government, and their comment was, well, that's not journalism, that's PR with better lighting. I like that one.
Mhm.
In another interview, was talking about censorship, and their comment was, freedom of speech is lost when you're not free to say something others don't like. And I guess that's the whole point of freedom of speech, right? Rebel News also had 2 dedicated articles by senior editor Tamara Ugolini, along with several interviews about the Health Charter Tour, and she also did a few video reports about the tour. We also had Safe Food Matters, an independent Canadian food safety health advocacy site, who covered the tour, the petition, the world's greatest health show, and the charter goals. And of course, Vitalité Québec magazine, which featured a special post-tour article by Dr. Michel Chaufferot-Cook. And we also had Vitality magazine, not related to Vitalité Québec, who also feature a monthly article written by Sean called Health on the Hill. And of course, we've had great support from many different influencers who either repost or have Sean on their shows for interviews, such as Camus, Carla Treadway, Mark Nixon, many other high-profile social media accounts. And we can't forget the countless regular everyday Canadians who are sharing, commenting, and reposting NHPPA posts. There's so many to mention, but just a few of our top sharers that I picked out are Squirrel Nuts. He's a frequent reposter. Bob Blah Blah. Bob Blah Blah. I love that name, Blah Blah Blah. Who often shares and added on one of his shares that I have health issues where the therapies to treat this make me even more sick. Add your voice to this campaign. And Adam Siddhartha says, add your voice to this campaign. Health Canada isn't doing what it should be doing. Raise your voice while you can. Greg Cushing also says, add your voice to this campaign. It's getting too nuts. Nikki Dane, Lippis Hounds, they add your voice to this campaign. Both of them say the same thing. Sandra tagged her MP saying, please vote in support of the people to access natural health products. Vote towards the freedom of the people who want to get back their health. Now we've got Chuck McNam, Silver Sentinel. There's so many more. Sorry if I missed you, but I'll keep a close eye for the next time. So thank you for all your support. And we have so much going on with our very small team that it's sometimes hard to jump into the comments and say thank you, but I'm saying it now. Thank you all. It's obvious that it makes a huge difference in making people aware of what's going on. And just look at what we've accomplished with your help and support. So that's where we're at.
Well, that's pretty cool. And just so everyone knows, I mean, we really appreciate feedback.
Mhm.
And we also often find that you give us really good ideas. So
Oh, there was one, speaking of that, there was one idea, and I didn't write that one down. Somebody said, oh, we should have one of those billboard trucks that goes up in front of Parliament Hill and says, you know, our messaging, or somewhere, you know, different
Yeah,
different
did I
cities,
did I
places.
did I
Thought that-
talk during this show about, please encourage you to donate?
Yes,
So,
that would help.
but truly, I should. Many of you out there donate to the NHPPA, and we don't take any government funding. We don't, none of that. We're just strictly citizen funded, and we absolutely depend on your donations. And we're, a very lean outfit. We're very proud of the reach we have. But my gosh, if we had a bigger budget, that's a wonderful idea. And, that was done where one of those was parked by the constituency office of the last Minister of Health in the last Parliament. And I think it was terribly effective. We didn't do that. Another group had, but we wished we had. So, so I do encourage you to keep supporting us. We did put out, not this newsletter, but the newsletter before, a call for funding to help us with a website build that we want to do. So for those of you that have been following us for a while, you'll know that when we were in the fall, we did this health show. So we literally, Teresa and I were in the old Volkswagen van. And if we weren't in it, we were dragging it behind us in a trailer, but we got it to Ottawa. But we were doing all these live stops along the way. And we'd also pre-recorded a whole bunch of ordinary Canadians telling their stories. Now, when Josh was on here, I shared one of those stories about the mom who had restless leg syndrome. And just to use her as an example, well, how many young moms out there with restless leg syndrome are taking the Parkinson's drug, and it's destroying their life? Like, it's not a drug you want to be taking. The story that I keep telling, because it just rattled me, sometimes you just get rattled, was the one with Karen Peters in Grand Prairie, where she shared live that, she had rheumatoid arthritis and she was suffering terribly. Like, she described it was like you had golf balls in your feet when you walked, and her hands were twice the size they were supposed to be. And the medical doctor told her, look, this is incurable. This is a progressive illness. It's going to get worse and worse. You will end up in a wheelchair. It will kill you. So, the guy was really good at giving her hope. And then he says, but we can try and slow down the progression of the disease with chemical drugs, because that's all the medical doctor has to offer. And so we put her on a couple of chemical drugs. Well, one was a drug called methotrexate, which is a chemotherapy drug. And, I interviewed her before I put her on the stage. And I remember just being horrified both times, in the pre-interview and then when she's on the stage, that like, what? We're putting somebody with rheumatoid arthritis on a chemotherapy drug? And, she had described to me, not on the interview, but on the pre-interview, oh yeah, she actually got to pick which chemotherapy drug, and she chose that one because it was less expensive than the other ones. This was in Grand Prairie. We're traveling west to east to get to Ottawa. So Teresa and I get to spend a couple of days at home over the Thanksgiving weekend. And we had two events in Edmonton, and we live in the Edmonton area. So I'm on the internet researching. I couldn't believe that we would be giving a chemotherapy drug to somebody on rheumatoid arthritis. And I learned this is common. So, we drive across the country, and we're dropping these petitions off on Parliament Hill. And so we have an event, because we're, this is a live thing. We're having an event, and I tell that story at that event. Well, the event's over. We're now packing up. And I got this lady comes up to me, and she's weeping. Like, she's weeping. She's just like sobbing. And she has to talk to me. And she says, and I have to back up. So, because I didn't tell you that Karen Peters got cured. So she's taking this methotrexate. I got to tell that part of the story first. So
Yeah.
She shares with us, she's prescribed this chemotherapy drug for a full year. she is getting injected. She does it herself. But she's getting injected with a chemotherapy drug weekly for a full year. And she describes in her interview that she would feel so sick for 3 or 4 days a week, she'd actually wishing she was dead. It was that awful.
Yeah.
She's still suffering with rheumatoid arthritis. The only positive was the swelling in her hands went down. She's still facing a wheelchair. She's still facing death. Her life is literally a living hell of suffering. And a friend convinces her to go and see a naturopathic doctor. She goes to the naturopathic doctor, and the first thing she says is, I have an incurable illness. And the first thing the doctor says to her is, there are no incurable illnesses, much like Josh on this call earlier.
Yeah.
And then he cures her with natural health products and nutrition. And she's not facing a wheelchair. She's not on chemotherapy drugs. She's not facing death. So I tell that story, that complete story on Parliament Hill. Teresa and I continue traveling. The last live event is on Parliament Hill, and I'm so rattled by this story and learning that it's common for us to put rheumatoid arthritis sufferers, patients on chemotherapy drugs. I tell this story. We're packing up. This lady comes up to me who's weeping. She's like demanding my attention. How do I refuse it? She's sobbing. And she explains to me what she explains to me. Oh, and I have to back up again. I'm doing very poorly. The naturopathic doctor, Karen Peters, said, if you had stayed on that methotrexate, it's not if you would get cancer, it's when. Like for sure, you would get cancer. Okay, so back up. We've done the Ottawa thing.
Yeah.
Nelda's weeping and trying to explain through her sobbing. She says, you told my story. I have rheumatoid arthritis. They put me on the methotrexate, except I got the cancer and they took my breasts. So how many Canadians are out there with serious conditions where they're being told the rest of your life you're going to suffer and die, and there's solutions? But as Josh was saying, here he's being trained. It's being drilled into them at school. Don't you dare share the truth. Don't do it. These are Canadians. You will get hammered. They're not allowed to hear that they can be cured. They're not allowed to hear that they don't have to be in a chemical drug hell.
And he just wants to help them.
Right. So that's why we did this health show, was so that because we're not selling anything, so we can actually call these people. It's still legal for a short time yet in Canada. It's still legal for ordinary Canadians to share their health journeys. So that's what we were doing. Well, now we've got this big library, and the team, including Rick, said especially because we're going to keep doing this, we need a different website for these because we need to get them out. It's got to be a different interface, like almost like a Netflix type thing where it's easy for people to search. It's easy for them to find. We can have it organized in different ways, and it's not going to get overwhelmed as it grows. So it's like, well, okay, that's why we're doing this. So let's do it. But we've gotten stalled on the price because, we're given an estimate for, what would be necessary on the back end for that type of thing of about 10 grand. And, that would be a bit of a burp for our budget. So we also, we put out a call. We don't want, for those of you that are supporting us, monthly and all of that, please keep doing that. We're really proud of what we're doing, and we'd love to be able to do the truck billboard and all of that stuff. But also consider, and if you're not supporting us, please do consider it. Even the Zoom account or StreamYard account and all of that we're doing this, and we used to tape our other shows and guests. It's not cheap. So yeah, but for us to do this, we rely on your support. So please also consider, a special donation to help us with that project. We think it's super important. We're the only ones collecting these types of stories, and we want to be able to make it accessible to those people who don't know, so that they can find hope. We don't know how long it will be legal for us to continue to do this, but while it is, we want to do it, and likely when it's illegal, we want to do it too. So, because that's just that's just the way we think here.
Sean, can I
So-
add that when we went for a walk just like 4 weeks ago, we actually ran into an old friend of mine, and she talked about how her sister has rheumatoid arthritis and was put on this one drug as well. And
Mhm.
and what we're talking about here is, how I see it, is just the freedom to be able to make a personal health decision, and freedom to know that there's other options, right? And that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to make it easy for you to see there are other options. You don't have to just rely on one option, but you've got a choice. And that, I don't know, like for me, I just keep saying it's like another food group. I didn't realize this stuff was around. Now I have to investigate TCMs. That's my homework.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
Right. Now I see that, we've been going for an hour and 40 minutes.
Go figure.
And
Time
well,
flies.
it does fly, doesn't it? And Buckley Unfiltered, I wanted to talk about 224, and I ended up walking through that with Josh. I could definitely go into kind of some land rights issues and farming issues, but I think we're kind of like, I didn't realize we'd gone an hour and 40 minutes. We still have NHPPA University to do. So why don't we do NHPPA University, and then wrap up, and I'll save these, but I'll just tease people for the next.
Yeah, we'll talk about land rights, and then Eric and I will just go for dinner.
Right. Well, yeah. Well, there's that too. So should we go head into NHPPA University?
Sure. Sounds good.
Okay.
I'll get my paperwork ready.
Okay, here we go.
And this is the lesson today. Exponential growth. I had my spell check do this because I'm terrible at spelling, but exponential growth. So how do we break the narrative? How do we educate these people? How do we educate these people? So Sean and I met with an MP today, and we discussed some certain issues with this MP. Talked about the Charter of Health, Freedom, Bill C-224, among other things. And it just amazes me how little he understood. And I think that there's some real, like there was a real takeaway message there for me. We can't assume the people that we're speaking with, regardless of who they are, we can't assume that they have the same level of understanding and the same information that we have. So that's step one. If we can't assume that they have this information, well, where do we go from there? Well, with this MP, we only had a short period of time, so we made a decision to blast the poor guy with a fire hose, and we did. And he sat there, he listened, he was.
Do you want to maybe explain where that comes from so that people understand what? Translate, she means just flooded with information.
Yeah,
fire hose instead of a glass of water.
Well, if somebody asks, if somebody's thirsty, I'm thirsty. It's like, okay, here, have a glass of water. Or else you could just get the fire hose and just, how much information can you possibly give them? but there is something about just not assuming that they know and that they have the same information that you have. I was in I had a car service this weekend, and the guy came to, take me home when my car was being serviced. And, we started talking about natural health products because, and, he said, well, what do you do? And I said, well, I do this, and I do a little bit of volunteering for my husband. And so he talked about, I said, there's a lot of censorship about natural health products. And he started, his affect changed. He didn't want to share with me where he went and got his natural health products, because he felt that somehow that was going to flag his natural health company in a negative way. Like, it was just really bizarre. So we have to be able to have open conversations with people. We talked about restless leg syndrome with this guy who was driving me in the car, and his wife actually takes magnesium. Now, how did he find out this information? How did they find out this information to go to a natural health store to get this information? Like, who knows where they found out, but they did. What we're talking about here is educating other people that don't know that there are other options, and they don't have to suffer in silence. They don't. And that's where exponential growth comes in. So if you tell someone and give them information about, say, Bill C-224, and that you're going to write a brief, or you go to the website and you're going to fill out the e-letter, tell your friends, tell your circles, but it's not sufficient anymore to just tell them. You have to tell them to tell others. That's this tell people to tell people gig that I was on a while back, and I'm still on. That's where we get the exponential growth. And exponential growth, I looked it up. So exponential growth, I got to put my glasses on. So exponential growth, from the Oxford Dictionary, it's a noun, growth whose rate becomes ever more rapid in proportion to the growing total number or size. The exponential growth of the world's population. That's what we need to do to break the narrative. That's what we have to do when we're talking about sharing truthful health information, about sharing about the campaigns, about sharing about the Charter of Health Freedom, about what natural health products mean to you. We have to break this narrative. We have to concentrate on exponential growth. Again, there's my sign, exponential growth. And it's up to us to do this. So we have to tell people to tell people. Now, one other thing that came to us regarding the briefs. Regardless of where you may be, and this is my personal opinion, regardless of where you were over the past 5 years in the COVID conversation, I have seen that there are vaccine injured people from the COVID-19 vaccine. When we went across the country, we went into health food store, spoke with person. There's a lot of people that are suffering. And a lot of people are now going into the health food stores or trying to find the likes of Josh to help them mitigate their injuries, mitigate what has happened to them. We need these people that have seen relief through natural health products as a result of vaccine injury due to the COVID-19 vaccine. We need to hear from them. We need them to submit a brief.
And Teresa, can I just bump in? So if that's not you, but you know somebody that is successfully treating injuries caused by the vaccine, that would be willing to write a brief. It would be very helpful. We're being told by some MPs to start introducing that theme in front of the Standing Committee of Health. So that's a special request. Again, if it's not you watching, but you know somebody that's in that circumstance, please, ask them if they would write a brief. And again, you can give them our webpage and you can walk them through what we walked them through. And but yeah, that would be very helpful, because there isn't an understanding, and we need as a country to start having that dialogue. How are we going to get the best health outcomes going forward?
Well,
And
in the censorship in that front, as most of us know, is real, just like a lot of other things that we're experiencing now. So just like Julie's with the rheumatoid or with the restless leg syndrome, Karen Peters with her rheumatoid arthritis, we need to talk about, Becky ABC, I'm just making up a name, who is vaccine injured from the COVID-19 vaccine. And if she's receiving treatment, if she's feeling a sense of relief to whatever her injury and however it manifests itself, we need to hear from her, because this information needs to be shared. Just like Karen Peters speaking about her rheumatoid arthritis, here I am walking along the path with Sean last month, and I'm running into my old friend. Her sister has the same rheumatoid arthritis, is on that same drug, and has not thought of natural health products or seeing a naturopath or TCM as a potential option to either supplement what she's doing right now or replace it or what have you. And what we're talking about is freedom of choice. It's time that we have a discussion on this. We have to. So please share that information. And that's my call out. And that we need this with the briefs, and we need this as we're talking about how to help these people who are suffering. And that's NHPPA University for this week.
well, thank you, Teresa. Rick, are you able to collate some questions from the chat? We could.
Yeah, I think I can. I'm gonna
Okay, so
take a look
we'll
and see what's
there. Well, we'll go to the question section of the
Okay.
NHPPA talk show. Okay, well, what questions?
Just give me a second. I'm trying to bring them up here. Got a lot of hellos, blessings. Thank you. Hold on a second. I'm looking. Well, here's one. It's not really a question, but water fasting. Hang on a second.
I hadn't heard of water fasting. What's water fasting?
Well, that's what we do, Teresa. So where you still drink
what-
fluids.
yeah,
Some
okay.
fasting, you can fast where you don't drink water.
Oh,
Or
okay,
you
got
can
it.
fast where you're still drinking water. So water fasting is what you and I do fairly regularly.
And then I talk about food and bring out the recipe books.
Okay, I'm just scrolling through the comments. I'm looking for questions, but I haven't been putting up the banner asking for questions. So maybe.
Oh, right. Well,
had too
okay.
many
So if anyone wants to ask a question,
Yeah, go for it now, I guess, would be the good time.
does Big Pharma control health? So there's one question up there. Who who is forcing government to push these tough regulations, which is funny. I thought that you meant World Health Organization is forcing government to push these tough regulations, or you could be asking who is. Is it Big Pharma, which does Big Pharma control Health Canada? Well, let me suggest something here, because we certainly have a unique situation where our government, well, our whole system is geared to either offer us surgery and or chemical drugs that had a patent when approved for serious health conditions. So the way our system works is, we've rendered all drugs illegal, whether they're natural or chemical, and drug just means anything used to prevent or alleviate any type of health condition. So if I was to say to Rick, if Rick and I were in the same room and I said, Rick, my gosh, this is a long show, you look dehydrated, and I gave him water, I literally would be breaking the law, because I would be giving him water that doesn't comply with the Food and Drug Act and regulations. I wouldn't have a site license. We wouldn't have got a product license. It's illegal to sell water to treat or prevent dehydration without Health Canada permission. This is how broad this is. So anything used therapeutically is illegal, and Health Canada grants exemptions, temporary exemptions in the form of a license. Well, for serious health conditions, they have structured the regulations to just make them simply so expensive that only chemical drugs that have a patent go through them, except with Primeron. That's the only one I'm aware of that didn't have a patent. So, but it's tough to make. You have to have a whole bunch of pregnant mares. So you might as well have a patent. So we structured our health system so that the only legal treatments for serious health conditions are surgery and or chemical drugs, which is why anyone watching this, either live or on a rebroadcast, they intuitively know if they have to engage the hospital system for a serious health condition, they're going to be offered either surgery and or chemical drugs, or a combination of surgery and chemical drugs. There'll be the odd exception, but it's rare and odd indeed. Well, this isn't by mistake. And then the government-funded healthcare system, so the federal government took over the province's jurisdiction in health. And how they did that is they raised a bunch of tax money long ago, and they got these bags of cash. And they say to the provinces, do you want these bags of cash to spend on healthcare? And the provinces are eyeing those bags of cash, and they're thinking, I think I can get reelected if I can spend that on healthcare. I want those bags of cash. And the federal government says, well, that's fine, but you have to follow the Canada Health Act in spending those bags of cash, even though health is provincial jurisdiction, and the provinces should have never done it. And now the federal government owns the provinces in healthcare and in almost every other area with cash. So, but they only get to spend it on surgery and chemical drugs. And when you think about it, the chemical drugs, the only legal treatments, almost all of them are prescription. That's where the big money is. Well, can you and I go and access a prescription drug without engaging government-funded healthcare? No. We have to get a prescription by a doctor. It has to be filled by a pharmacist. So by definition, government-funded healthcare is the marketing and distribution arm for the chemical drug companies. So this question, this person asking this question, which is a great question, is kind of going, well, look at it. Government's spending all of this money on pharmaceuticals. The government has structured it so that the only legal treatments other than surgery for serious things are these pharmaceuticals. Wow, doesn't it look like the government is captured by the pharmaceutical industry? maybe, I don't know, that's above my snack bracket, but I have another thing just to think about. I don't know. Why do we assume that the government's captured by the pharmaceutical companies? Why don't we consider that maybe the pharmaceutical companies are captured by the government because the government needs the pharmaceutical companies to do what it's doing?
You mean through paying their
No,
fees?
everyone assumes that the chemical drug companies, which make so much money, are basically just bought off the government, that you can't go against them, that they've corrupted Health Canada to the core, and they've corrupted the FDA. But let's just talk to Health Canada. So the question is assuming, and many of us believe, that we have regulatory capture, where Health Canada is basically just captured by the pharmaceutical companies, that literally they're regulatory lapdog to do what they want. And that's why only chemical drugs are approved for serious health conditions. And that's why Health Canada is trying to get rid of the natural health product industry, because we compete on the lower level things. We're never going to be able to legally compete on the big things, even though we solve chronic illness in a way they never can. But they need chronic illness. That's where the money is. So we all just assume, do you see that? Oh, the government's captured, Health Canada's captured by the pharmaceutical companies.
Mhm.
What I'm just saying is it possible that the government wants what's happening and needs the pharmaceutical companies? Sure, they pay the pharmaceutical companies nosebleeds amounts of money, but maybe the pharmaceutical companies only exist because the government wants them to exist and has structured the regulations that way because the government wants us in a surgery and chemical drug model. Like, why do we assume that it's pharmaceutical companies controlling the government?
Why
and
would
not
why would
government?
why would the governments just want us in a pharmaceutical and drug model then?
Well, I don't know. Maybe they don't want us to live long. That would explain why we have a toxic food supply, that they're allowing things into the food supply, but telling us it's safe, that because Health Canada is managing it, when in my opinion, we have the most toxic food supply in the world, Canada. Why is it that we're in this drug model alone? Like we've got chemical drugs as our only option other than surgery for serious health conditions. You don't get good health outcomes that way. If the chemical drugs are so dangerous that if you wanted to get good health outcomes, our health policy should be you can't touch a chemical drug unless you've exhausted all reasonable natural treatments first, because we don't want you taking a chemical. They're so dangerous and by and large so ineffective that it's crazy.
How do you communicate that without wearing a tinfoil hat?
I don't know.
Not that, sometimes they're quite comfortable.
So any other questions for us, Eric?
Yeah, we do have one right now for Teresa.
Does your sign have quiet on the opposite side?
I think that's a National Citizens Inquiry joke.
Yeah, that's it. Okay.
Very, that's really funny.
Yeah, we do have a few more. Here's
So,
one.
so can I just explain what that
Yeah.
meant? So the
Yeah.
person was
Because I'm
obviously
bossy. Yeah, I'm bossy.
so Teresa kind of was the floor manager at the NCI hearings when Teresa and I were at the NCI, and she had signs that she would do for the audience, and one was quiet. So so everyone that's attended an NCI hearing that Teresa was at know about her signs.
This is actually my NCI Sharpie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we
224 briefs versus handwritten letter.
Okay, that is a great question, Debbie. Thank you for asking that question.
Mm-hmm.
So, so remember we went to the NHPPA site earlier, and when you're on our homepage, we got that banner that kind of rotates through some different campaigns. But if you just scroll down a little bit, there were 3 colored boxes. And on the right-hand side, that box was our letter writing campaign. And Debbie, God bless you, that you are handwriting letters, because a letter is better than, probably 500 emails. And a handwritten letter is better than a typed letter by far. And so you are, other than, in-person meetings, you are making, putting the most pressure, and you're writing to the standing committee members. So thank you. And we want everyone to participate in that campaign. But now the difference between a letter, so let's say, so there's 10 members on the standing committee on health. So you'll send a letter to them, and they or their staff will read them. And it's a letter, and it's communicated. When you write a brief, and just so you know, like, let's say you're writing a letter saying, here's my health journey, and I rely on natural health products, and I don't want them in the therapeutic product category, and I support Bill C-224, that could be your brief too.
Yeah.
Right? So what you're writing in a letter, your letter could also become a brief. But the difference is a brief, and like I say, we've got on our website the conditions. So, you kind of have to identify yourself, and you have to be succinct. And if you're over 10 pages, you have to do a summary and things. But they're pretty reasonable guidelines. A letter will suffice. And if you look at Josh's brief, well, if we're gonna go, I'm just gonna move to the bigger side here. I'm trying to, Teresa, I'm trying to move you out and move me in, and I'm struggling. There we go. So Josh's brief, he just came up with a format, but it's short, and he talks about why he's concerned, but there's no specific format. But the difference between a letter and a brief is a letter just gonna, the MP or the MP staff member that received the letter, they're going to, read it. But a brief that you submit to the clerk saying, I'm submitting this as a brief to the committee, it becomes part of the official record. It gets translated into French, and it gets published as a brief on the HESA website. So, which is pretty cool, right? So you will be, if you submit a brief. So we're encouraging everyone to do both, which is why on our website there, we've got those 3 campaigns, the different colored boxes. And that's just the best way we could come up to let you know we have 3 separate campaigns, because we've also got the campaign. We've dropped off these petitions, third largest paper petition in Canadian history. The government has an obligation to respond. And so we're sending letters just to Liberal members, but you can also choose to your MP. But we're wanting the Liberal government to respond favorably. It would solve this problem. They could solve the 224 problem. They could, we're in a trade war with the U.S. that's been imposed on us.
Yes,
and
that's
the Liberal
a very
government's
good
been very strong. We need to compete. We need to win this trade war. We have to enable Canadian businesses to compete. Well, in the U.S., these are foods. They don't have that regulatory burden. And we all agree, I mean, the Canadian products are no safer and no better than U.S. products. In fact, I don't know who I was interviewing the other day, and they were saying, well, actually, there's some products I have to get from the U.S. because that's just, for this category, that's where the good ones are. And I think that the Canadian producers, we're slightly better because we have to jump through so many more hoops. And what people don't understand about Canadian producers is we're a smaller community. We know each other, and there's just this real pride in quality. Like, we have a lot to be proud of. I don't want to lose our Canadian manufacturers, and we're going to lose them. But isn't the joke that you can buy the US products that are unregulated. So why do we need the strict regulations? And Health Canada and nobody else can point out any meaningful difference in quality or safety between their unregulated market. And
So-
75% of Americans regularly use natural health products. And I think that works out to like 276 million people. You can't have a bigger sample size. This is all just nonsense. So why don't we use the trade war as our opportunity to level the playing field and say, fine, we're going to enact the Charter of Health Freedom. We're then out of the drug category. We have all the powers needed if a product is dangerous, like the odd one ends up being spiked or an ingredient is sour or whatever. No, you got the power to solve this. But otherwise, you have to try and protect and promote these because most of them are essential nutrients. And if you feel the need to attack one, Mr. Government, you have to do a balanced risk analysis. Well, what are the benefits? What are the risks? And let's do what's going to lead to the best health outcomes. Yeah. That's our solution. The government has an excuse right now in this trade war to solve the problem and be the total heroes. So we've got that campaign too. So I think I answered the question in a very long-winded way.
Here's another question. Any recommendations for naturopathic doctors in the Calgary area?
I don't in the Calgary area, but I sure know an up-and-coming TCM doctor there.
Yeah, that's right.
I suppose there's some kind of guides you can look up to find.
I'm assuming, you know, what I do when I'm in a community is, you know, I just start asking around.
Mm-hmm.
So, because I want to find one that I've got confidence in, and
maybe a health
that
store
we can communicate well in.
Yeah,
health
go to
stores
health.
might recommend.
Oh yeah,
somebody.
and ask there too. Yeah.
Okay. We have a question from Adam. What help is there for people who have pancreatic failure diabetes since the shots?
Okay.
Thank you for asking this question.
Yeah, and we're not the practitioners that you need to ask. But, you know, but I would say if I was in the shoes that I'm having pancreatic failure because of the shots, I would definitely be doing research. Like I know that a lot of doctors out there, like medical doctors, like Dr. Elizabeth Eves in the US, publishes general protocols to mitigate the damage. And I would also be seeking specific advice. I think Dr. Pierre Corey and his group, FLCC, also have protocols. I think the CCCA in Canada publishes protocols. And I would be finding a practitioner that knows about pancreatic failure. So I'd really be, you have to be proactive, but we can't offer that advice just because we're not the experts, actually. I can tell you that if I thought I had the answer on that one, I'd share it. But we try to shy away from that.
But I just want to say thank you for asking that question, because that's what we have to start talking about. So this just even the action of asking that question is so important. So I would go and ask that question in a health food store as a start. And then just go on a message board,
there are whole communities out there of people that are finding help in the natural health community that support each other and share information. And if there aren't on that one, start that group. You would be surprised that you'll find a community and you guys will start sharing information and find answers. So, but you have to be proactive in your health. You know, we used to just think something went wrong. We'd go to the doctor and it gets solved. And we're learning that isn't real, and it never was real. And I'm not knocking it. Like they solve some things, and I'm not here to knock medical doctors, but they are part of a system that either regulatory capture or, deliberately privileging only a single type of treatment, and we don't get the best health outcomes by privileging only chemical drugs that have patents.
We have a comment from Brent regarding the Calgary question. He suggests looking up the Paradigm Health Group.
Oh,
Well, there you
thanks,
go.
Paul.
Hopefully that's helpful. Thank you, Brent.
Also, we had a comment about the trade war. Cheryl thought that was a great idea.
Yeah.
Well,
See?
use it in your briefs, right? It's funny. So the NHPPA has drafted its brief. It hasn't been filed yet. It might be sent to the clerk tomorrow if we're lucky. And some people, like Teresa, had suggested that we amend that brief to try and use that theme. And
Yeah.
so the NHPPA did amend its brief to do that. And I think that was very smart of Teresa. And I think because that is a theme that the government uses, is that we are in a trade war and we need to protect the Canadian businesses and we need to compete and win this war.
Well,
and that gives a political opportunity
yeah. They're just
for the government
they
to
just
enact
want-
the Charter of Health Freedom.
Exactly. Yeah.
And the fact that our medical system is so overtaxed anyway, that, I mean, there's no better time to take the pressure off and free this natural health community to start doing what it's good at, and that's helping people.
It's a little bit of knowing your audience when you're writing this brief, right? And what motivates them, good, bad, or indifferent. If we're speaking with a politician or if we're speaking with the electrician down the street, you have to know your target audience and what drives them, right?
Mhm.
And what pressures would they be experiencing, and how can you assist them and give them ammunition? Well, the Charter of Health Freedom is the solution, right? It's the solution. If they repeal this Bill C-224, they can all look like heroes within their constituencies, because 70 to 80% of people, Canadians, use natural health products. So let them be heroes, and that's how we sell it. That's how we get them to be on board, to see the reason, right?
We have another recommendation for Calgary from
Oh,
Brent.
Oh yes.
yeah.
If
If you can get into Dr. Eric Arata, we know him, and he's a friend of the NHPPA, and he has practiced for a long time. And I think that would be a spectacular recommendation.
And
It's
he was
very, very,
he was also a speaker on the World's Greatest Health Show.
yeah. So you
Yeah.
can actually go to the nhppa.org site
Mhm.
and go through the speakers list, and you can actually watch Dr. Eric Arata speak about naturopathic medicine and some of his stories.
Yeah.
We also had another recommendation for Dr. Makis. I think he's moved to Florida now.
Yeah. So my understanding, and I haven't read any court decisions or anything, but my understanding is that there is an Alberta court thing where if he was to be giving advice within Alberta or Canada, that he could be subject to being jailed and fined. So it's an example of the government basically going to shut him down. Now, Dr. Makis is just an incredible person. He's an oncologist who was brought in by the province of Alberta to do research into some cancer treatments, and they were just having fantastic results. And then he was really helping people with COVID-19 vaccine injuries, and had developed some protocols. But there's just seems that the Alberta government has targeted him, and it's gotten to the point where he's in real jeopardy if he assists. So now he's not a naturopathic doctor, but my word, he is so knowledgeable, now on nutrition and things like that, because he's come to understand as a medical doctor the importance. So if you could get his assistance, I think that would be like winning a jackpot.
Yeah. Another recommendation for Dr. Arata.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, and again, just such a super senior, super experienced naturopathic doctor that just has a passion for healing people. So
We have a question from Gypsy. I know not all naturopathic doctors are created equally. What would you say to the one who says that some vaccines are required?
Oh, good question.
and do I have to speak with my mouth, or can I use other parts?
Sign language?
So, oh yes, that's right. Sorry about that. Thanks, Rick. So, okay. I could not be more disappointed in naturopathic colleges, most of them. Special shout out. The Manitoba Naturopathic College has become the censorship watchdog for Health Canada. And I wish that the Naturopathic College in Manitoba did not exist. And we saw during COVID that what happened was, so let's take BC Alberta as an example. So the legal structure was such that if the public health officer made a declaration, that actually you were breaking the law if you went against it as a regulatory college. So all these regulatory colleges found themselves in a situation where they were legally obligated to censor their members on things like vaccine hesitancy, for example. So basically, you would be disciplined as a naturopathic doctor if you went against vaccines. And so I was super surprised that we saw a whole bunch of, homeopathic doctors, naturopathic doctors, TCM, falling in line with, the public health narrative on COVID. And again, I don't care where you were on the COVID conversation, whether you supported the vaccine or wasn't. From a college regulatory perspective, we were entering the zone where patients didn't have informed consent. And before COVID, you would be disciplining and kicking them out of your college and not allowing them to practice if they weren't giving patients informed consent. And now you're basically forcing them to have patients in a situation where they couldn't get informed consent because the vaccines, they didn't come with the product monograph sheets. They were just blank. So you actually couldn't inform your patient about safety and efficacy and side effects and things like that. The information was kept from you as practitioners and as pharmacists. So it just put us into a whole new world, and we really haven't had an honest conversation about this. And I don't know, because I was hoping that the naturopathic colleges and the homeopathic colleges and the like would just say no, take our license away, fire our board, but we're not going against our ethics, and we don't believe that these vaccines are helpful. But they didn't. I think we learned, and let's not single them out. I think we just learned generally that people are reluctant to go against the narrative because we're herd animals. We had a lot of hype, we had a lot of fear, we had a lot of propaganda. And when I say propaganda, I just mean the same message repeated over and over again. Doesn't matter whether you agreed with it or didn't agree with it. It's difficult for people to go against a narrative tide that is so one-sided. That's what I mean by that. So I think we've learned that, it works when if you can control a single narrative and go in a direction, whether it's positive or negative or something in between, it works. So I don't know. I didn't answer the question because I think that's just a personal choice. What do you do with a naturopathic doctor that supports vaccination? If you don't, I think you move on and you find somebody that, is aligned with your beliefs that you're comfortable with. That's what I would do.
Yeah. Isabel Bazinet is looking for a naturopath in her area. But
Well,
we
thank you
don't
for
know
not
the area.
sharing the area. What's
So,
that?
yeah, that's it. We don't know the area. So if you
We
want to
don't know the
see,
area, so that makes it a little
But
tough for us.
but go to your natural health food store and just start asking questions.
I would say if you're in the Vancouver, so we've talked about Calgary. We the audience has given a recommendation in Calgary, but it's tough for us to give other recommendations.
yeah, we are looking. Somebody else is asking for Glencoe, Ontario. So I guess if somebody has
Yeah,
any,
this has become the theme here. I don't
Yeah.
know that we can answer these questions.
yeah,
And also, if you find a shining star, many of them will consult with you by Zoom also, right? So, you're not just stuck.
I think the takeaway to all of these questions, though, is that people are now starting to see that there's that maybe they should actually start
Mhm.
speaking to someone else. And that's just this new food group. That's
Yeah.
that's where I'm going.
And some naturopathic doctors specialize in certain areas. So they're like doctors. They can get further training in special areas. So Teresa, remember we had at the Winnipeg event at the health show, we had Dr. Sean Caesar, and he's another naturopathic doctor I just have great respect for. And he has specialized in the area of pain control and cancer.
Right.
So, yeah. So I know if I came down with cancer, I would call him. So, I would call him.
And he
So,
was also on the World's Greatest Health Show. So
that's what I'm saying. You can go
Yeah.
and watch him
Yeah.
at the World's Greatest Health Show. So you mean separately? That's right. So he was at the Winnipeg event live, and
But
then
you
there's also a
interviewed him.
separate video
Yeah.
of him at the World's Greatest Health Show.
This is the whole idea. This is the whole idea. What we're trying to do here is just to start the dialogue and to show that there are other options, and we're entitled as human beings to have some sort of freedom of option. But when you're discovering these things, and when you're asking these questions, and when you're having conversations with other people, give them this information and then ask them to tell other people.
Mm-hmm.
another glowing recommendation for Dr. Makis.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh yeah, no, and I've already voiced just eminent respect for him.
yeah, we
And
do have.
not just as a medical practitioner, but just as a human being that has the bravery to stand up and speak truth, and suffer consequences. He's an inspiration for us all. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree. Debbie's suggests somebody in Oakville. Not sure how far that is from Glencoe, but there's a recommendation. I think that's about all the questions we
Okay, well,
have. We have lots of comments, but questions, I'm just scrolling through them to see if there's any particular questions. If I missed any, maybe just send it out again and we'll try
This
and
is-
get it in before we finish up.
This is so fabulous, because this is the dialogue that needs to happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is the dialogue, and have the conversation, with whomever it is that you may run across over your next week, right? Oh, hey, by the way, I wrote a couple of letters to the Standing Committee of Health on health, because, I want to make sure that I have enough vitamin D next winter because I get depressed.
Yeah.
So I've got a couple of thoughts before we close, and one of them is just kind of silly, but I want to do it. The one thing is that I was thinking, we'll have a certain number on this call, and we actually won't have an accurate count because other people will be streaming us and the like. But we do these shows once a month, and then we also do an NHPPA talk forum, with a guest, once a month. And, why don't you invite some people to join us on this next show? And that's telling people to tell people and then tell them, right? And that if you're not restreaming us, learn how to do it and restream us, because it will reach a couple of people that are in your feed. It's a way of telling people to tell people. So let's even do that for the show, because that exponential growth, if everyone on this show would make sure that at least one other person was joining separate from them at the next show. And you're telling them, okay, and let's just do this, and also live stream. We could, just with this show alone, you know,
Yeah.
in a couple of months, just have a huge audience, and it would make a difference. So there's that, you know, because it's, remember, Josh, we have to be involved. And then the other thing is Jason's not here, so I'm pulling up these videos like the feed and the like, and I see we have that charter tour promo video with the van, and I just love it. I love the music. I love the whole thing.
Oh, put it
So
on.
because I'm in this technical driver's seat and can just do it, we're gonna watch that promo video because I love it and you love it, and it's like heart touching. So here we go, and then we'll be right back. You know, that was done by Jason Dahl, who can't be on the call today, of Dollhouse Studios. And Teresa, did we cry when we first saw that? Like, I didn't even know what to do with it. He's, you know, what a blessing.
Jason
You know,
is Jason and Rick. Both you guys are just. I mean, at the NHPPA, everything that you guys see, all of the graphics, all of the videos.
oh yeah, like Rick's the graphics guy, and
Rick and Jason are just. I mean, they're just incredible people, and
We have fun doing it. We enjoy it.
well, and sometimes, you know, we're having kind of late dialogues, and everyone has a different schedule. Like, you know, Jason, because he's up in Whitehorse, you know, he'll pull an overnight shift, and you know, then Rick comes on, and we just carry on this dialogue all day long. But yeah, that pretty much encapsulated, and he did that. He produced that prior to our tour, and you know, Jason got it before we even went on the tour. He got it before me. I didn't get it. I didn't get it until we were actively going through about the component of hope. I couldn't grasp it. I couldn't wrap my head around it because I didn't understand it. And that's the takeaway. We have to hold on to that. We have to hold on to that hope. And we have to tell people to tell people. We have to stay active. We you know, and you know, look at Josh. I'm sorry. Yeah. He's 30. Can I be just completely inspired? What was I doing when I was 30? not this, not what he's doing. So, you know, we have to have hope. And Jason saw it right away, and you know, and he's not feeling well again. So we want to be praying for Jason. So all our prayers go to Jason today.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Do you guys have any final comments? So I think, you know, we've had a great show. I thank everyone for attending. You know, we used to schedule these for an hour, and now they just go on and on. But on our end, we have a little bit of fun, and we like the fact that we can. So, you know, we had Josh longer than we thought, and the conversation's just gone some different directions. And as usual, we've just had some fantastic comments. So, and I like that Jason, you know, hit on the hope theme on that video. And I think that's why it's inspiring. And Teresa, I think, you know, you hit a home run on just then emphasizing that, because if we can't get Parliament to sway on this, and we can, like, they really don't know.
Yeah.
So let's go for that home run on 224 on the charter. You know, and if we can't get them to bend on that, you know, then that's a different discussion. But it's premature to go there. And also understand that people are starting to realize the medical system isn't what was billed.
Mhm.
And, you know, on the COVID issue, which we rarely talk about, but, you know, there's a lot of people out there that are suffering, and they understand, you know, that a vaccine caused injury to them or somebody they care about. And that will be eroding confidence in the medical system. If ever we have had, you know, we will have an opportunity to say, let's have an honest dialogue. This isn't working, what we're doing, let's do it better. I think we're approaching that.
Mhm.
And for whatever reason, the NHPPA is the sharp end of the spear. Like, we're the tip. I don't know how we got in that role, but we're the tip of the spear, poking government, saying we need to change this, and we're only able to do it together with your help. And I think I can speak for all of us. We're all just proud to be walking with you and participating in this journey. So, on that happy note, we will sign off from the NHPPA show, and I'm going to hit what I think is our closing video. But if I got it wrong, sorry about that, Jason.
The cartoon.
I think it's just the end stream. I think that takes care of it, but I'm not 100%.
Oh yeah, it might add the thing itself. Now there's